First of all, I'll give a quote by, I think Charles Spurgeon was the one that gave this quote. He said, first of all, teach a child obedience. After that, you can teach the child anything else. There's another quote that I also saw. It says, first of all, teach a child how to read. And then after that, you can teach the child anything else. You know, now in democracy as we practice in Nigeria, they tell us that democracy is the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So meaning that power is supposed to reside in the hands of the people. Now, if people who do not have strong enough lenses to be able to decipher information that comes to them, whether from school or from the news media or from their government officials, do we think it is possible for these people to be able to be called a strong people? Now, while we are thinking about that, back to my story of the contract. Now, I went back to my Ogas and then I told them, Oga, I do not really understand what is happening in this contract. You know, I thought it was going to be extremely embarrassing, you know, but a few of them were able to sit me down and then they told me it happens to everyone who comes into this organization for the very first time. Because contracts can be very complex. They make you understand that it is deliberate for contracts to be very complex. First of all, so that, I don't think it was normal, but lay people in any organization cannot just look through and understand what the contract is talking about. That's one, to make sure that lawyers stay employed. And two, to also make sure that you're able to hide clauses in these contracts that will be hidden from the other party to make sure that you get a better deal at the end of the day. And they didn't teach me this one in school. You get, you know, so as I started to deal with loads and loads of data and information, legal information on a daily basis, my lens started to develop and my lens started to get stronger. So the more volume of data and the more work I did around that environment, the easier it was, you know, for me to see through loopholes in contracts, to be able to look at arguments from the other parties and be able to tell exactly what they're talking about. So 5 steps when you're speaking, I'm able to tell where exactly the party is going. So now, why is it important for everyday citizens to have an important and strong lens with which you look at society? Now, someone talked about language. One of the lady that talked about definitions. What you hear, how do you define it? Now, it's interesting to know, in the Hebrew language, for example, the same word for challenge is the same word for promotion. In the French language, you will have words that are masculine and feminine. But maybe in the English language, you may not have all those words. So differences in language and all these things cause for alertness when we are dealing with volumes of information. Now, in my slide, I traced the history of writing, publishing, media, and all those things. Now, in the early years of human history, what they used to do, you will see that they used to inscribe on stones, they used to do paintings on stones, what they would call the Stone Age. Now, human beings developed from that point, from oral tradition to the point where it was just strictly on stones. And then from stones, you will see the Egyptian hieroglyphs that have pictures all over. You will see what they call the Cyrus cylinder that the Babylonians used to store information. And then it developed from all those places to the time when the printing press came up. And then we start to store information on paper. And then you now have the internet and e-books, as the last speaker also talked about. Now, on the power of information and printing, and why it's very important, I was going to use the Cold War incidents between the communist Soviet Union and the capitalist United States as another example as well. There were captures of pictures and handbills that were used during the Cold War to fight this info war, this war on information. Now, capitalism, there are some people who are pro-capitalism, who think capitalism is the best thing for our world today. There are still some persons who think communism is the best thing for our world. Now, when Ronald Reagan came to office, the Cold War was on and it was heated between the Soviet Union and the Americans. And then the Catholic Church also, under Pope John Paul, was losing its grips on power in Europe. And a lot of tension over the world nuclear war was imminent all over Europe, all over the world. And then Ronald Reagan did something very important. He visited the Pope, and then they sat down to discuss. Power is declining in Europe. The power and the grip of the Catholic Church is declining in Europe. What do we do? Capitalism is declining in the West, and more nations were being attracted towards communism. What do we do? So these two men sat down, and funny enough, some of the strategies that were developed to bring down communism was just simple dissemination of information. Now, Warsaw in Poland, which was one of the cities that was first devastated by the Second World War, was chosen as an outpost to put a small printing press where information was going to be leaving Warsaw onto all the other regions around the Soviet belt. So they started to write propaganda, they started to write handbills, they started to paint pictures, they started to do cartoons, distributing them around Warsaw. Before you know it, revolution started to break out in Warsaw, in Poland, in Hungary, and some of all those regions, those belts around Eastern Europe, until the eventual revolution that happened in the entire Soviet Union, and then the fall of the Berlin Wall that was brought down, till the final death of communism all over the world. Now, how does that affect our world today? With the information overload that is happening on the internet, I'm sure some of us, even while we're inside here, some persons are not able to sit still for an hour straight without checking your WhatsApp notifications, without checking your Facebook notifications, and all those things. So there is a need to stay abreast of what's happening all over the world, and this need is being taken over by organizations and ideologies all over the world. I'll give you a few examples. If you look at the secularist agenda all over the world, those who believe that the state should neither be built upon religion or Christianity or Islam, the strongest tool of secularism is information. They are funded by many organizations. They put money into TV programs. They put money into series. They put money into education. They put money into some of the biggest universities in the world, like Harvard and Stanford University. And for those of us who are Nigerians, who do not have strong enough lenses, we think some of these schools are the best in the world, and it's a dream for us to go to all these schools without first of all checking the ideological underpinnings of some of these schools. Now, if you're watching CNN today, for example, you are either most likely going to hate Donald J. Trump. Am I right? Yeah. Is there anyone in this room that likes Donald Trump? By the way, I'm a big fan of Donald J. Trump. And then he saw through most of all these things. He was not speaking through CNN, he was not speaking through most of these media houses. He was speaking through Twitter. And a lot of persons thought he was stupid because he was speaking through Twitter, because he understood that the lenses of the people have been hijacked by mainstream media. He had to choose something that was not dependent or leaning towards any ideological school of thought. I was going to say amen. Man of God. Yeah. So now, on the importance of our lenses, I'm going to trace a few areas where we also falter as Nigerians. And there are a few ideological biases that actually, make us prejudicial towards any information that comes to us. First of all, the first one is culture. If I ask somebody that what's the first thing that you think about an Igbo man, most likely we are going to say an Igbo man likes money, an Igbo man likes business. And if I ask you another thing about the Hausa man, we may say that they are dirty people. The only thing they know how to sell is carrot. Now, I had some of all these things way back. Before I visited Zaria, I think in the year 2001, 2002. Now, before I visited Zaria, I had this mental picture about the North. I used to think, because of the abokes that I see selling onions or carrots, I used to think they're all poor people. But when I went to Zaria, the roads in Zaria were all far better than the roads in Benin. And it was very shocking to me. And then back there, I think pig milk was far more expensive here. And it was cheaper in Zaria, about 20 naira. And then Mr. Biggs, the food there was way cheaper than Mr. Biggs in Benin. I was shocked. As my lens began to develop over the years, I started to learn some very amazing things about people from northern Nigeria. I'll give you a few examples. The Aboki that you look at, for example, has a small radio. And with that small radio, watch every one of them. They listen to BBC Hausa. Wherever they are all over the world, the Hausa Fulanis, those around the West African belt, they listen to BBC Hausa. That means that before anything happens in Nigeria, those of us who are even legal practitioners, the Aboki knows already what is happening. And then this information is not tainted by any other ideological underlying. He hears straight in Hausa, and the news is candid and is very swift. So they're always one step ahead of us, those of us who think we are extremely educated as Southerners. Now that's one. And two, there's another very interesting thing about people from Northern Nigeria we don't understand. There are some professions that we do not take. But they take, for example, they are going to be our gate men, which means they have intel about Southern Nigeria more than every other ethnic group in Nigeria. So let's not be negative, but think about this. Say there's a civil war being imminent, for example, and then your Aboki from BBC Hausa gets an instruction that you should plant one thing or the other in your house, and then this information goes around. And then in the middle of the night, everyone is sleeping, and then something funny happens. And then, because you had a poor lens that wasn't strong enough, you had prejudice towards people, you never saw what it was they were capable of doing. Now tell you another thing about these people, because of their nomadic nature, the fact that they travel around the world taking cattle, for example, that also means that they are very strong in military reconnaissance. Meaning that they know the terrain. They call it grazing parts. They say there are grazing parts all over Nigeria, but if you think very well, because you have a strong lens, you will know that these people understand the geographical terrain of West Africa better than every other ethnic group in Nigeria. So now, that's culture. I just address culture. So if we are able to take away all these prejudices and make our lens stronger, we're able to learn a lot of things from all the other cultures. Now, there's a funny tweet I saw on Twitter. Somebody said something. He said, where is it written in the Constitution that it's only the Aboki that should be selling suya? And then somebody gave another very savage reply to this tweet, and he said, it has to be the Hausa. And then the other person asked him why. He said, if the Igbo man is doing suya, the onions and the pepper is not going to be enough, and it will be expensive. He said, but if the Yoruba man is doing suya, the pepper is going to be too much and it's going to be poisonous. He said, so we'll go and check it. It's in the Constitution that the Hausa man must be the one to sell us suya. So now I just touched on a few more areas. I know my time is almost up. Now another thing, some psychologists have a few other biases that they have enumerated. One is called the halo effect. Now what is the halo effect? The halo is that light that is around the head of Jesus Christ. You see some of those pictures. Now what is the halo effect? The halo effect explains that when you see a positive attribute about the person, psychologically, you use that positive attribute to affect all the other areas and perceptions about that particular person. Now an example, for example, I don't know how many of us have seen the lady called Linda Kincaid. She's a presenter on CNN. She's an extremely beautiful woman. And what CNN does is this. Check out all their presenters. They are extremely attractive, the men and the women. Now this is to first of all disarm you and neutralize you psychologically. First of all, you're sitting in front of your TV and you see somebody very beautiful. Your brain would interpret that this beautiful person is extremely sincere as well. So what happens to you that you let down your guard and begin to swallow everything that you get from that person, hook, line, and sinker. So these are some of the psychological warfare that happens on television without you knowing. So another one is what they call an anchoring bias. An anchoring bias is psychologically when you do not want to deviate from an initial information that you have about a particular something. For example, I'll give you a personal example. I used to always like the Democratic Party in the United